the dark of the night, our thoughts wander, our minds open, and our souls become receptive to new learnings and new understandings. I'm Kate Hallam, and welcome to In the Dark of the Night. I'm here with my very special guest, Sean Stone, in the flowing tides of Galloping Quest. Welcome, Sean, and thank you for spending time with us all.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And this is a cool title to the show. I like it. The Dark of the Night is the name of the show?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. It's covering all things that are out there and in the dark of the night when these mysteries tend to unfold.
Well, indeed. The great mystery that from the night, from the darkness, the light is born, right? So that's where the imagination comes in. That's where, so much of our unconscious, you could say the unconscious mind can be considered like the night, right? And
yes.
So it's really, it's up to us to illuminate and manifest and create from that space of darkness, and not look at it like something to be afraid of or, scary, but actually just an opportunity to explore.
Are you a night person? I see.
I consider myself balanced. When I was young, I would have fancied myself a night person. I thought I wanted, at certain points in my life, I explored the night scene and, staying up in the club scene and that kind of thing. But, and certainly my first film was oriented around the night. Greystone Park was set, it's Asylum Tapes, I think it's called in England, Asylum Tapes, in the US, Greystone Park. But it was basically set in these haunted mental hospitals where my co-writer and I would go and explore these, haunted places. So that was a very nocturnal orientation. But for the most part, I think I like the balance. I don't like to necessarily wake up at the dawn, but I like to have the morning and not sleep through sleep until 11 o'clock or noon or something. So I like the balance of morning and I like a little bit of night. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just as may be said of life, so much to cover in so little time, so I'll dive straight in if I may. I'd like to begin with what's been happening recently in your life. And that quote that I used in the intro, in the flowing tides of Galloping Quest, comes from your recently published audiobook, Desiderata,
yes.
A Cosmic Fairy Tale.
Indeed.
Tell me about your choice of the title and how the story came about.
Okay, yeah, of course. Desiderata, actually, I always loved the poem by Max Ehrmann, I think is the name. Many people, I think, know this poem, go quietly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace may be in solitude. That I'm quoting from it, and I think it's the quote about "You are a child of the stars, and you have a right to be here." Like this great poem, Desiderata. I love it so much, and I always love that word, Desiderata, because it's the things wanted, right? Wanted and desire is such an integral aspect of human existence, right? We have to sit with our wants all the time. It's like, if we don't have want, we would be monks. We would sit in our silent, calm meditation all day and be content and realize that we are provided for and nourished, and there's nothing to want, but we are human and we have the society that's so full of want and desire, and you name it, right? Even the things that we don't need, we still want, and we want more, and then we realize that we're never satisfied, so we always want to feed some more, and whatever it may be, pretty things, seductive things, even just the wants of affection and love and connection and things like this. So this desire is such a powerful issue in human existence. The story, the fairy tale, like cosmic, because it's a bit like an Adam and Eve story. It's about the fall of two lovers who are in an ideal realm, and the moment basically of uniting, their shadow casts creates a sorcerer who's basically the third figure. There's always, how do you say it? But within every story, there has to be a trio, right? That's how existence occurs. There's a you and a me, and there's an action between, right? So it's like in creation, there's a father, there's a mother, there's a child. There's two people love each other, and there's oftentimes that one person who's envious or jealous, and that's where the fall comes, right? So their fall comes because the sorcerer casts them out of his own jealousy, and so they go through these timelines of Earth in a story that's timeless because the male character sort of sees his lover, beloved, the woman, his ideal from a different time. He sees her in the human forms. He sees her as his mother. He sees her as his lover when he's young, like the girl that he's in love with, his heartthrob, the woman he's seduced by, the woman he falls in love with, all these different characters in the mortal form that we reconnect with and realize from lifetime to lifetime we're playing out this cosmic drama of desire and experiencing what it is to be mortal and to be unfulfilled until we reach that conclusion that takes us back to the realm from whence we came.
Sounds like a very soul-nurturing read.
Oh, I
look forward to reading
I think
it.
it's going to be powerful when you listen to it. It's a journey that is unique and, it really came from a place of inspiration. That's why it's Desiderata by Ali is the title, because it really was not me in a sense of it. It was like a channeled experience to write it.
That was what I was going to ask you. How did you come to choose the name Ali for the author? So,
well, I also, Ali is my my chosen name within Islam. Like, I'm Sean Christopher Ali Stone, so I love Ali as a name, and I feel like it resonates with that story for some reason. That the energy of Ali is the pen name for that story.
That's beautiful. Now then, you have a Heart Awakening workshop coming up, which is fantastic. All about heart coherence, conscious relating, sacred breath work, immersions, and much more. What are your hopes for the workshop and the people attending?
The workshops are things that I've come to more recently this year because my girlfriend, Kaya Lei, teaches breathwork. Her academy is called Sacred Breath Academy. People can search it for themselves and read up on it. She's a very poetic, shamanic person.
She's on Instagram as well, the Sacred Breath Academy.
On
Some
Instagram.
beautiful posts on there.
Yes, exactly. On Instagram, Facebook, online. So Sacred Breath Academy. So she teaches breathwork. And I've discovered breathwork from my own path in the sense that breath is, as the Eastern masters always understood, connects to chi, which is energy, right? Prana, which is like, what are we? We are energy bodies. We are energy beings. We are not physical in the sense of, yes, we have a physical experience. We have a physical body that is a modality. It's an experience of feeling through the body, of smelling, tasting, learning, seeing. All these experiences are through the body.
Yes.
But what we fundamentally are is connected to the soul, which is through the breath, through the energy of our being. Right? And that's more informed by our feelings, by our emotions, by the places that in our modern societies we like to repress under the guise of being mental. Well, being mental is essentially the fall of Adam and Eve. It was biting the apple, wanting knowledge, and recognizing that fundamentally there are these limits to the mind's ability to know. And that's when we start to go into our soul's ability to understand. And that's where that wisdom comes in. And it's like this sort of this intuition, this energetic feeling and connection that you can't describe necessarily with words, or limit, I would even say, with our words, with our minds. So I'm more interested these days by the breath and the soul and the feeling body and the inner worlds that we can discover. So the workshops that I'm doing with Kaya are sort of informed by her teachings, my wisdom, and my work of many years in discerning and reading through the esoteric traditions, and interviewing people on Buzzsaw, and just, being a student of all these things, and now saying, okay, I think I'm ready to help guide those that are interested in coming and listening and working with us, and doing certain energy breath work, but also just listening. That's what Desiderata, the poem, the fairy tale, is about. It's passing on some things that I think my soul understands from long before my physical existence.
And that's what's lovely even about sitting with you. You're talking about the breath work. It makes you breathe hearing you talk about these things, whether it's your voice or just the space you go into when you're describing such things. It's very, very calming.
I hope so. I've always been told I have the ability to bring that calmness, and I think it's just because I feel I come from a place of love and understanding. So really, one of the essential issues of love in our world is a lack of understanding, that people don't have the empathy or the compassion to hold space for each other, to understand each other. It comes from an egoic sense of, you have to do it my way, otherwise I don't love you. I will withhold love from you if you don't do it my way, as opposed to, let's understand each other. Let's come to a place of sharing and recognizing that despite our differences, which are beautiful, we need those differences. Those are the colors of the rainbow. That's the contrast that provides such a breadth of experience.
Yes.
But beyond all those superficial contrasts, there is this oneness that is at the core of all existence.
It's very nice. Yes. Last year saw your film Nightwalk premiere at the 2019 Moscow International Film Festival, and it went on to win the Best Screenplay and Best Actor for Mickey Rourke at the 2019 Prague Independent Film Festival. Working as a writer, producer, director, your upcoming film is A Child's Night Dream, based on the 1998 book of the same name by a certain Oliver Stone, who's obviously your father. An arresting novel that seethes with rage, writhes with pain, and searches for a psychic unity that forever eludes its protagonist, a young Oliver Stone. How have you found the work transitioning the story from book to film? And when do we get to see it on the screen?
Well, you're jumping from Nightwalk, which wasn't my film. It was, I acted in it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't my creation. I resonated with the character and the story, so I did that as an actor. The Child's Night, which is, again, a much bigger issue because it's not ready. We're not filming yet. I don't want to speak too much to something that's still in, considered in development.
Okay.
But what I can speak to is that the intention of Child's Night Dream was very much to transpose the feelings of a young man in Vietnam era, which is what my father did with his book. His Child's Night Dream as a book is very arresting. It's very stream of consciousness, if you want to call it. It's, it's got that Catcher in the Rye meets, Norman Mailer, like that feeling to it. And he said it in that time period of the Vietnam War, of the pre-counterculture of a young man who was stifled. Frankly, my dad came from an era of the 50s, right, that was sexually repressed, that kids, he went to boarding school. The British still do this stuff, right? They're still sexually repressed in England, and that's why they love their tabloids and they love their fantasies about their queen. But the point is that, it's like this culture that, as we know from the 50s, that broke out with the counterculture. My dad didn't experience the counterculture the same way. He made movies about it, like The Doors, but his experience of the counterculture was really later. He didn't live the counterculture. He went to war. He tried to conform to the system. He tried to be the guy that, that goes from Yale to Vietnam to try to fit in some capacity and into a system of violence. And as we know, like our culture, our American Western society, our culture is breaking down, I think, because there are some fundamental doctrines and ideas at the core of it that are flawed. And one of the major ones we've seen historically is this empire concept, that you can control resources and land and put laws in place to enforce that order and the financial order that comes with it, that's imposed with it. And if we can just impose it long enough, then, somehow we'll stave off the collapse of our empire, and we'll use force and violence, and if not physical, then mental and psychological manipulation to do so. These systems are so antithetical to life. And so where I come from with my interpretation of Child's Night Dream, which is my own story in a sense of a young man coming up against 9/11 in 2001 in Iraq. And it's like, wow, we're still in this mirror of the 60s era, the Vietnam era, with war as the modality of existence, and you have to fight to defend your country and your freedom and all this nonsense that they spew at you, which has nothing to do with our reality as human beings, that we are being manipulated by powerful people with stakes in the economics of monopolies and the economics of violence and prison systems that, put people away for victimless crimes and control the way that you think and eat and speak and everything. So the feeling behind Child's Night Dream is much more about love. It's just a story that's to say, what is the solution to this endless conflict that we are in with not only within ourselves, within our own souls, with our generations before us, father and son, the war between them, right? Between mother and daughter, father and son, that gets passed on from generation to generation. This internal conflict that we carry with us, it's the only way there is to recognize this universal theme of love, of higher power, of a soul that transcends this physical time and space. So that's where I come from with this story, but also I think with most of the things that I'm working on creating, it's always with the intention of, let's get to the bigger picture here. Let's stop kidding ourselves. Let's stop fooling each other with these lies and thinking that it's okay to be in polite society and consistently lie to each other and to ourselves.
Let us now cut to Buzzsaw 2020, your podcast with Monument Productions. Your recent episode 5, America Inc., with Doug Sirignano.
Yeah.
I got it right. Focused on conspiracies and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Tell us about what that episode brought for you and what else Buzzsaw 2020 has come in for us.
Sure. I mean, the truth is that with Buzzsaw 2020, it's not like a fixed format right now. It's just it's been very experimental. Certainly Monument is a growing, it's a smaller podcast, but it's a growing little, production company and podcast company. So we've been partnered, on these first 5 episodes, and Doug's interview is interesting because he wrote this book about the greatest American conspiracies and cover-ups, and he's got some great interviews in the book with guys like Chomsky and Jim Marrs and so many others, talking about everything from like Pearl Harbor to 9/11 to JFK. I mean, he's a lot of good material in his interviews. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get him on the show to talk about his politics, his understanding, but also with past episodes we've had the dark journalist who's talking about the UFO stuff and alien disclosure issues. We've had some people talking about the sacred economics of how basically different ways of different modalities for how we can transact as humans in more honor-based systems of. At the end of the day, we don't have to give our money to big corporations. We choose where we put our money, right? Do we buy natural health foods, do we buy like supplements and things like this, or are we buying, corporate big pharma medicines, right? Or buying foods from big corporations versus local organic farmers? I mean, that's our choice, and so we have to be more conscious in choosing what brands we're engaging with, where we're buying our food, or everything. I mean, who we're transacting with, even in our life. Who do we want to work with as humans? Do we want to work with people that don't have our best interest at heart, or people that just want to profit off of us, turn us into sheep and slaves? I mean, that's our choice. So we did a show on that. We've done a few really interesting episodes, and then I don't know what's going to happen next, because there's a lot of transition for me in the sense that I've done Buzzsaw since 2013, I think, or 14. And it really came off the heels of Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. And, for me, it was a growth edge. It was an opportunity to continue my interviews and learn from all these fascinating people that I wanted to interview over the years, the Richard Dolans and David Ikes and all these great, people, Corey Goods and others that I've talked to, David Wilcock. I mean, so many fascinating minds, right, that are out there, give me access. And I think that was what it was about. It was like the idea of, hey, if you have a show and you interview people, then you can get to interview the authors and the thinkers and the people that are sort of doing progressive things. And then I did a documentary with Deepak Chopra called Metahuman, which is very similar to the book he put out in the sense that we're onto something here. And I think our passions and our interests segued in the sense of we're fascinated by human consciousness and what is human consciousness and what is this experience of being human. And since then, I'm just more into the spiritual journey and the inner work than I am into the external question of, who took down the towers in 9/11. It's like, I would love to know, but I just feel like there's so much of a hall of mirrors going on when it comes to trying to decipher truth in a reality that's manipulated and psychologically controlled as it is, because really, when you get to the issue of consciousness, we don't freaking know what's happening. Our perceptions are so limited. We can't even speak to the fact that we are literally, to me, we're like rats in a maze, and the alien presence is here at every moment. And it's just like a rat not recognizing, it can't see the human that's running the maze.
Yes.
Maybe it sees some interference and it goes, oh, that's strange. The cheese just got moved from there to there. We're in that same position. So we're sitting here trying to make sense of something that we don't have the perceptors to make sense of, right? We don't have the brain capacity. We don't have the tools, the instruments to measure this universe properly. So I think that a big problem is we're trying to use hard tools and instruments to measure something that you have to start to go into what was always considered from the mystical perspective, the intuition, the deeper wisdom, the dreamscape knowledge, the ability to sort of to transcend our physical limitation, to start to perceive outside of this physical body, and to start to recognize that everything is consciousness. So what are the limitations? Let go of those ideas of limitation, because that's the only thing holding you back.
Yeah. In the final part of our conversation, let's return to that quote from Desiderata in The Flowing Tides of Galloping Quest. Mm-hmm. The future. What do you think it holds for all of us? And in particular, what does it hold for you, Sean?
I'm looking forward to the 2020s, first and foremost. I'm excited about this decade. I think that there's a lot that we've been feeling as far as a lot of the beings that are on a similar trajectory, what we call light warriors, or people that are tuned in to the galactic story, which is, this is not a Earth story. This is not a human story. This is a galactic story. And Earth is starting to become more involved in the galactic story. There's, just to say, the activation at a cellular level, at a level of light augmentation within our being, all these codes and upgrades and whatnot, this is starting to really come into effect. I think we're going to see more and more people that, I've already seen it in my experience, but people that were like resistant to this idea, really recalcitrant when it came to anything about things that were out there, aliens and spiritual stuff and supernatural stuff. You're going to see more and more people opening up and being more honest with themselves and their level of soul, even when it comes to past life. And I just think we're going to see a breaking down of that rigid system that's controlled for so long. The systems being, entrenched in religion and government and finance. We're entering the age of Aquarius. So this is only the beginning. Like, it's really difficult. I mean, you're sitting there in like 1920, right? And you're like, 100 years ago. You're trying to say, okay, it's 1920. We've just seen this horrendous world war, and people have been slaughtered by the millions with, automatic machinery and gas, chemical weapons, and now the Spanish flu has wiped out millions more. And you're sitting there going like, well, what's this century going to hold? I was going to sit there and go, yeah, in this century, we're going to have rocketry that can take you to the moon, or we're going to have, television sets that are going to broadcast on our phones. What the heck, a phone? A phone is like a rotary dial phone at that point. Like the idea of a phone in your pocket that's going to be able to broadcast the same thing as a television to communicate to anyone on the planet. I mean, these things would have literally been like you're talking alien movie stuff time, right? There would be no way of understanding it. So think about where we came 100 years. And the future, I mean, I'm not visionary enough to tell you what that's going to hold, but I do have a feeling that we're going to see a tremendous conflict between the fleshists, or those who really believe in the power of the human DNA, our coding, our soul, and what it is to be human, the breath, connection to energy and form, right? And those that are like, well, let's just chip and upgrade and start to download our consciousness onto computers and that whole scam. There's going to be a huge problem. You're going to end up with like a Star Wars type of universe between the cloning going on and the characters that end up like Darth Vader that are going to be selling themselves, selling their souls to try to prolong life in physical form, and they'll lose their humanity in the process. Mm-hmm. And those that actually really find the depth of humanity and the power of humanity, which is, we're so magical when we start to tap into, the energy that is existent in this universe and available to us. I mean, things that have come on this planet, the fact that pyramids and, ancient megalithic structures and, the fact we don't know how to even build those things. There's so much power waiting for us if we follow the true trajectory of our human soul and don't give in to the lie that you need to be on your phone 24/7 chipped into your eyeball to have a fulfilling existence.
That's true.
Yeah.
And like you say, the 20s that are coming up, they excite you. There is an air of magic, I feel, to what's coming, because all of that other stuff has gone on for so long. Mm-hmm. And people are becoming more awake to things.
Mm.
So that's very good.
Indeed. God willing, it's all for the best, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank
you very much for talking with me today.
Of course, my pleasure. You look like you're about to get beamed back up to the USS Enterprise.
I'm off. Sean, just one more last question, if I may. Any experiences of seeing things out there?
Well, you're out there, right? Aren't you out there? Yeah, I mean, I think as far as craft and things like that, I've seen some craft. I've had some sightings once in Iran in the dead of night in the desert. We were driving, and the driver and I both saw some kind of ship that was flying very fast over the highway, and it was not like a jet. It was just streaking, and he and I both looked at each other and we're like, "You see that? Yeah, okay."
So do you do that thing that people sometimes do and try to? Is it a satellite? It's not Superman. Is it a satellite? No, it's not. And then, or does it come with an energy when you see it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's, yeah, sometimes, you know, you'll like, well, you know, you can look at something and be like, is that a satellite or a star? Because it's like, it's bright and it's in the sky. But the thing is, usually there's a sensation that you're being drawn. Your attention is drawn for a reason. I mean, I saw it in Beverly Hills, the same kind of thing. It was very fast moving craft right over the sky, not too low to be a plane, definitely a weird formation. So, but that one in Beverly Hills could have been like a U.S. government secret space program craft. Like, I wouldn't say it's definitely UFO. It was some kind of physical craft. But again, I mean, it doesn't matter. But what I see, it's thousands of people. I don't know, millions of people at this point have seen this stuff. I mean, come on, talk to any pilot. If they don't tell you they've seen a UFO, then they probably haven't been flying very long. I mean, most pilots are just, you know, they see this stuff at some point. Their experience comes on the radar and flashes, you know, blips in and out, or, you know, something comes out of the water and just like, whoa, okay. Santa Claus, they say Santa Claus is real, folks, you know, that kind of thing. There's more to this story than meets the eye, that's for sure. Yeah.
Sean, tell me about this morning meditation.
Yeah, so it's something called morning meditation. It's a little play on meditation. But essentially, I'm putting it up on Patreon.com, which people can subscribe monthly, or they can get it on Vimeo. I put up a series of videos.
Yeah.
And it's just helpful, I think, to have someone to do meditation with.
Wonderful.
So I do like a little talk for 5 minutes or so, and then lead a little meditation for 10 minutes. And I believe in that. Like, for me, I've always, not always, but 20 years, probably been waking up and doing meditation to start my day. So I really believe in the practice of meditation and the idea of just having a little talk and a little guidance for people that are new to meditation or that need someone to engage, you know, to help them along with their practice.
Yes.
You know, so that's morning meditation. So yeah, it's on my Patreon account if they want to subscribe.
We'll be sure to check that out. I'd like to say, Sean Stone, namaste. It's been a sheer pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time, your insights, and for simply being you. I hope our paths cross again very soon in the near future.
Well, there's no separation. That's all illusion. So once you're in someone's consciousness, how can you ever leave?
I like that. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts from tonight's show, and I look forward to wandering once more with you all in the dark of the night. I'm Kate Hallam. Be happy, be free, and be you.